in previous parts.
Problem with this vehicle, it's not okay with this pump. You need special tool or you don't. Coolant gonna flow. Whew. This is definitely coolant.
This stuff needs to be disassembled. So I will move on from end to the turbo.
And the answer is yes. So the manifold is the tank is in the head gasket. Cool plug.
This is coolant.
Radiator from DPF.
It's only this cooler with crap.
There is one pipe. There is one pipe over here. Oil inlet pipe of the turbo. And 17 to undo. And next, from under, after removal of the EGR cooler, you have more space to undo some pipes, bolts of the exhaust manifold and turbo. And first you can undo oil return line with 10mm socket or T30. And it will be easy to do with wobble extension and 10mm socket. To undo bolt over there. Well, another bolt is not a big deal at all.
And just because oil return pipe will interfere with removing bolt of the mount bracket, you need to bend this pipe just a little bit aside. So you're not gonna need to remove it completely or remove this pipe completely if you want. Just move aside. In case if you need to remove oil supply line, other end of it is mounted to the cylinder block behind this heat shield, and it mounted with bungee bolt over there.
So wooden bricks between subframe and engine. Go up, and I show you one more thing.
There is some burnt sludge inside of this DPF, or if be correctly, it's emission control module. And the sludge, it's something like burned oil or maybe coolant, something like that.
So if you need to remove DPF filter without removal of the subframe and drive shaft, you will need to remove EGR cooler and then detach turbo, and then you will be able to remove DPF.
It's better to use good quality of T30 bit when you undo bolts of the exhaust manifold, and especially bolts with Torx 30.
These two bolts okay, now it's all about nuts, upper one and lower ones. Move this. Have access to the lower bolts, I mean lower nuts of the exhaust manifold or turbo. And sometimes this happens when you undo nuts of the exhaust manifold, then screwing with studs, and it's not the worst scenario. Most of the time there is no problems to undo these nuts. And underneath there is one nut over here. It's behind mount bracket of the DPF, and you will need to remove also this mount bracket because you won't be able to remove turbocharger without removal of this mount bracket. You will need to undo one bolt over here left, two bolts on the right side. Bend this inlet pipe a little bit, and then also you can bend just a little bit outlet pipe. And then you have your turbo out. I think now you have enough space to remove that DPF or emission control module. Let's look inside. Gasket. And there's no visible traces of coolant inside of this exhaust channels, or if you like to call them ports. Everything looks shiny and bright. And maybe you need, this is serial numbers of turbocharger. So this is how it looks like, EGR side and turbocharger. Gases from the exhaust come through this EGR cooler from this side right here and goes up to this pipe, to this hose, and straight to the turbo. And so this is something beautiful. This is perfect invention. And also it helps to keep your engine clean inside and out, and maybe even your wallet. Sometimes this EGR cooler can crack inside and causes some leaks of coolant. So this is how I test it. I clean everything inside of the EGR, all the sludge. Next I close one pipe of the EGR cooler and two other pipe connect hose of the compressor. Then let in 5 bar of fresh air and put EGR inside of the bucket with water and start looking for any bubbles of air to come out from the EGR. So if there is no bubbles, then everything is okay with this EGR cooler. And it turns out that everything is good. Cooler is perfectly fine. So I need to take off cylinder head now. And if you ever was wondering what a camshaft gear looks like from the other side, it looks like this. In workshop manual, this thing is called follower for camshaft. So now, cylinder head removal. Small caps. Caps on the rail, caps on the injectors. Everything secure. Additionally, you can secure return line of the injectors. Inside of this can is plastic hose pipe. Just cut open and you have pipe to secure return line if you need to. And also pipe of the high pressure pump and securing also and securing high pressure pump. Then undo common rail and the common rail M10, and I just move it aside and leave it there. Injectors clamping pieces. It's M8 multi-square bit. Injectors. Mark also injectors 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3. Some burn coolant. CUPA washer and O-ring. And also coolant on the nozzle of the injector and some numbers. Now T30 to undo valve cover. Slowly with screwdriver. You can move. Okay. Bolts are secured in valve cover so they're not falling off, and all those gaskets you need to replace. this, and now T30 to undo all of these bolts that holds camshafts. You can move from this side and then this side and to the center. No rushing, one by one, undo those bolts slowly. Now screwdriver and slowly moving up to unglue from sealant. Just move it slowly because it sits on some guides. And also try to not damage this surface. And from this, here you go. This housing and camshafts are one piece, so if anything happens to the one of the camshafts, you need to replace whole thing together. Oil lines, everything is on the sealant. It's guide number 1 in front and number 2. So you will know where to lift this up with a screwdriver on the left and on the right, and it depends from where you're standing. So a couple of bolts left to undo. One M10 triple square bit, this T30, this flange, this hose, plastic hose, and also mount of the pipe, coolant pipe, is attached to the cylinder head. In front, 1 bolt of plastic cover. It's just hose with some O-ring. And plastic in front of the head. And lifters go inside of the bag. Now using M12, undo bolts of the cylinder head. Just move from the right, then from the left side and to the center. Try not to undo at one time. Just slowly, one by one, moving in square direction, and maybe even moving in multi-square direction. And of course you will have to replace the bolts of the cylinder head. They are long bolt heads bolts. Now detach all bolts from the head. Don't forget of the washers. This grinded area is on top. And these bolts are the longest ones that I have to undo from the cylinder head. And now, using screwdriver one more time. And now, moment of truth. Okay. So let's take a close look at this cylinder block. What is this? Cylinder 4 is washed with coolant AC, and other pistons also have this coolant and oil deposits on them.
And yes, this is the spot. The hottest spot that won't let you sleep at night. If you are owner of this beautiful, comfortable vehicle with such powerful and amazing engine, and yes, maybe it have some small issues, but we will fix that.
Definitely cylinder 3 was leaking. And head gasket on the other side looking like this. And maybe it happens because these two cylinders get some extra heat from the AGR and turbo, and also air that comes from the intake manifold into the combustion chambers. It's not a very cold air because of the hot EGR gases that come back to the chambers, and air from the turbo is also not very cold. So basically everything is heated up to the maximum level and may lead to this kind of situations with failing gasket. So all this thing with coolant overflow was caused by this blown gasket, which was blown because of the maybe by the stuck thermostat, or maybe because this engine gets too much heat from exhaust and from intake manifolds. On the head we have most likely some coolant on valves, and this cylinder is a little bit wet, and it's different from these two, as you can see. This is cylinder 3. Yep. And this black spot, this could be the reason for these problems with coolant, and that the coolant is blown out from the expansion tank, so exhaust gases leak through this spot right here and gets into the coolant system. And cylinder 3 and 4 is the hottest one because of the EGR channel that goes through the cylinder head. As you can see, maybe that's why it gets overheated. And almost always you have this problem with the head gasket on cylinder 2 and 3. almost always. It's because cylinder head gets more distortion closer to the center. Now we will check this head and then grind it. And I think that'd be all. Cylinder head number. And this is how you can define the right thickness of the head gasket, and this is the number of the head gasket that was installed. So if you undo glow plugs and see this kind of deposits on them, which have this kind of color, and most likely it's coolant deposits, and that means that the coolant is getting into the combustion chambers and your engine burning coolant with fuel and oil. And this is the spot. And also you have this oil return line from the turbocharger that may help to overheat especially this place with hot oil. Some deposits on the top of the pistons. When you scrape it, it will be something like powder. And this kind of thing you can see on every piston on top of them. This one is specially washed out perfectly. So the manual says that you don't have to remove dark spots on the cylinder block, but I need this clean surface. I covered this oil channels, and it's better to cover also all coolant channels and holes for the bolts and inside of the cylinders. So I have part of the precision ruler in here. Have sandpaper, then lubricate, and with some oil, also block. So now quick distortion inspection. It's 002. And maximum distortion that you can have on the surface of the cylinder block, it's 0.03, and on some vehicles up to 0.05. 0.02 doesn't fit at all. That's good. That is very good. And in this spot, no, good. You can check this with flashlight, but it's not a rocket science, so feeler gauge is enough. Okay, and before you remove valves, it's better to mark them with some numbers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Removal tool to remove keepers of the valves, retainers, keepers, and magnet.